Hey guys, long time no see. The Warriors back at it. For videos for right now. Patrols are still taking a back seat as I'm still trying to figure some stuff out. I've been posting about it in the community tab, so if you want to keep up with that, just check the community tab and that will give you all the info you need to know about my current situation. But that's not why you are here today. You're here for me to do a new thing that I'm calling either superhero reviews or something like that. If you can leave a name for that in the comments, that'd be great. But for the working title, I'm going to just call it superhero reviews. So in this series, I'm going to take either comic tropes or I'm going to take a piece of my gear and review it and tell you if it's a good or bad or neutral thing to have on your kit. So today I'm going to be doing a piece of gear that I do not have and kind of mesh the two ideas. And this was requested by somebody on my community tab. I'm going to be reviewing the grapple hook. This is a comic book staple, and it's the number one thing people think of when they think of things that work in comic books but not real life. And I'm going to kind of explain why. I've actually heard of some RLSH in the community say that they have a grapple hook, and that is ridiculous. If you actually do have a grapple hook, you are not that smart of a person. And so, in comic books, how it's used often is they will have a ledge that's on a higher to reach area, and they need to shoot a grapple hook up there and then, go up, right? And that works in comic books because they set it up for it. Like, there's a spot that can't be reached by normal means. However, the world in modern times is built for people to walk. Built for people to walk and get there without needing a grapple hook to get places. There has been exactly 0 times where I have felt the need to use a grapple hook to shoot up to a different spot. Now, in this series, I'm going to be going over pros and cons, which that includes the pros of a grapple hook. So, I have to think of something, right? For instance, even though the world is built around it, there is a use for being able to climb stuff. Usually you can get there without it. However, it is a possible use for it, is to use it as a grapple hook. Also, having a rope handy is never a bad thing. Having a rope on your toolkit is an overall good thing to do. So, I would take a rope over a grappling hook, personally, but that is just me. Now, when it comes to things, like if we're talking about cons, there is its added weight. There's its added weight. It's bulky. If it's air propelled, like you would see on Batman or something like that, which those are absurdly expensive and don't work like they do in Batman. So let's say even if you had one that is a Batman one, which doesn't exist, it's gonna cost an insane amount of money. Normally for the gear reviews, I will actually have the gear and I will test it out. I'm not doing that with this because I'm broke. So I'm not about to do that shit. Now, if we look at how Batman uses it, he uses it as a traversal mechanism type of thing, just to get from one thing to another so he doesn't have to walk the street. And then he uses his cape to glide, which that's its own set of things. That's its own set of issues. Which I will get into when I review a cape, which is going to be upcoming shortly. Well, shortly, I don't know when the next video is coming out, but it's on my radar of next things I want to do. But so when he uses it like that, it makes sense in the universe. That's in universe, it makes sense, right? Put Batman in the real world, he would be hunted down because the biggest part of RLSH work is the community work to build your reputation. And to do that, you have to walk the streets. You have to walk the streets, say hi to people, greet people, stuff like that. And that kind of stuff he doesn't do because in universe he doesn't have to. That's not his modus operandi. You know, it's just not what he does. And that's fine. Now, if somebody were to take that in the real world, make that into a thing, what would happen is, one, he would dislocate his arm, because with the force that Batman's grappling hook comes out, it would break his arm, or at least dislocate his shoulder. And then he would also be pulled rapidly to it, which, again, would dislocate an arm. And the upper body strength, in order to do that, is insane, which, granted, in universe, Batman has. However, nobody really does in real life. So, and remember, I'm not saying that this is like a bad comic book trope or whatever, or it shouldn't exist in comics. This is purely an RLSH perspective on gear. Now, there has been some instances in the comics where he uses it in combat. In combat, I can almost see it working. Almost. There's a reason that almost is a very, very almost, because it's not like it'll work. Because any situation where you could use a grappling hook, you could use a rope, or something of that matter. Now, I've seen an argument for people who have a rope with a grappling hook at the end of it that you, like, spin around and then throw, you know? I've seen an argument for that. And that, I think, is better, but honestly, again, there has been 0 times in my life where I've felt like, damn, I wish I had a grappling hook right now. Because if the time you spent mastering the use of the grappling hook, you spent mastering parkour, you could get to that spot just as quickly. Because, think about it, the time that it spends for you to wind it up, throw it, or maybe just raw dog throw it, you know, and wait for it to hook on the thing, and you grab it, and then, you know, do the climbing thing up a wall, like Adam West's Batman. In the time it takes you to do that, it's just straight up easier for you to, you know, climb the wall. But if that's not an option, in the 0.01% chance that that's not an option, then I could see maybe a use for it, but why do you even need to get up there in the first place? You know? Because if the person you're chasing or being chased by doesn't have a grappling hook, which nobody does, then you could just outmaneuver them with parkour ability, which is a way more better skill to have. And in that situation where it's a tall building or something that you somehow manage to throw higher than the building to reach something that actually could be grappled onto, by the time you wind it up, throw it, wait for it to land, and then start shimmying up the wall, they've either gotten away or they're going to grab you. That is a worthless piece of superhero thing. You don't need it. Don't even have that as number 50 on your gear list. Quite simply, the only useful thing that a grappling hook provides is a rope. And rope can be useful. I've carried it a few times. I actually don't carry it now, which thinking about it, I probably should. However, I don't. Now, that's pretty much it for the grappling hook review. I mean, everybody knows it's garbage. Everybody knows that it's garbage. Now, if you're going to, if for some reason you have to have one and you need to use it, you lost a bet and your friend wants you to die. How I would recommend using it, this is another section I want. I want pros, cons, possible uses, and, stuff like that. If you had to use it, I would just get a rope and with the hook on the end and just use it like that. Not to mention the vandalism charges if you damage a property trying to climb it. You got to remember we skirt the line of vigilantism very, very closely. We don't cross it. That's a big thing, is we don't cross it, but we skirt that line. And if you're a crime fighter, if you're not, then whatever. And I don't like considering myself a crime fighter, but that's when people say real life superhero, that's what people think. And I do, but it's not what I'm most proud of. But that's not the point. Not the point. So, when it comes to, you have to use a grappling hook in this situation. Use it as a rope to tie somebody up after you've gotten them. But even then, that might be false imprisonment if you don't know your citizen's arrest laws, which that's a whole other thing. I remember back in the day, Savior insisted on carrying zip tie handcuffs, which I shot him down on multiple times originally because obvious reasons. But he insisted on having them because he thought that he was going to make a citizen's arrest like that with that. And it was just not smart. He's wised up now. And he actually isn't even a RLSH anymore, to my knowledge. I hope that he gets back into it because he's a good guy. Anyway, that's not the point. So yeah, don't use a grappling hook. If you do have any ideas on how you could potentially use a grappling hook in the comments, please let me know. However, nobody's going to have a valid enough idea for me to ever consider getting one because they're worthless. Now, I hope that you guys can leave different comic tropes in the comments, or because I'm going to try to do alternating. This is more of a gear thing than a comic trope thing. I did try to meld them for the first episode. So I hope that you can leave more in the comments for me to do, more comic tropes, and I will try to do them, I don't know, every weekend or every other weekend or something like that. So yeah. And I'll try to put a status update out there sometime soon, like just a video, because I know some people don't read the community posts. Please do read the community posts, by the way, or my Twitter. Usually whatever I put on Twitter or my community post, I post to the other. So, but I've been focusing more on YouTube community posts because that's where more of my following is. So that's what I would recommend doing, is checking out my community posts for updates on if you care about my life. If you don't, that's fine. I'm not mad if you don't care about this random YouTuber's life. But, yeah, if you're just here for the content, it's going to start coming back slowly. The patrol logs are going to take a backseat while I wait on getting a bulletproof vest. So, yeah, because I'm in Houston now. So, if you know any RLSH in Houston, please let me know. Or if you are a prospective RLSH in Houston, let me know. And we can work something out. And, yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening to my TED Talk, and I will see you guys in the next RLSH review. I'm trying to think of a outro for this. I'm thinking stay super, but that's so lame. That's so fucking lame. But that's the best I got so far, so stay super.